Minister of Switzerland offers trillions of dollars to the United States to pay off some of its debts. But meanwhile, the Prime Minister hires a sniper to shoot the President, tells him that they'll take over find a sniper. Bribes France to give less than perfect health care to the President. He's not going to die, he's just not receiving the best health care. And then they attack the hospital, trying to convince the French people that France would be angry about it. Swiss intelligence leak about a possible Al-Qaeda training camp in the mountains of Germany. So the CIA ends up bombing a new beach in Germany, and that completely angers Germany. Switzerland offers money to pay for Germany to start a war with the United States, and bribes France to consider going to war with the United States. Britain attacks Germany because they're not entirely sure where the United States is in all this. France attacks Britain. U.S. declares war on both countries. That's the beginning of the Third World War. So what do you do about soldiers now? Because, you're fighting Iraq and Afghanistan. So the president decides to draft not only other people, but Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, as well as superheroes. Superheroes who attend a school a school for superheroes located here in the hills of Missouri. And most of the students get drafted, but the story only focuses on a certain 10. They go through basic training at Fort Jackson, South Carolina, complete several weeks of it, then they continue on to OSA training at Fort Benning, where they go to Airborne School, Ranger School. They were in London when the French Legion attacked, so basically that forces Britain to surrender, and the British school students are forced to go to Western Hemispheres because France doesn't want to deal with them. Australia and Canada do not recognize France as the head of state. Quebec, however, does. So France offers Quebec and else fight against Canada. You can see this map. You have Quebec over here, and you have New Brunswick as they're fighting there too. Superheroes spend half the day in school, and the other half in battlefields, Quebec and Nova Scotia. And this map over here indicates, the maroon indicates the furthest expansions of the French military, how far they go. There's 3.5 months stalemate. Brunswick falls to Quebec and France, and then France attacks Nova Scotia, and using their momentum there. So the Allies decide to attack Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, and Quebec, forcing Halifax, Fredericton, and Quebec to fall. France withdraws out of the war, so anything to do. Then Quebec and New Brunswick are stuck with the majority of the war debt. Allies remain in occupation zones, and superheroes remain there in school anyway. And that right there, the green indicates Canada, the other, it's just the occupation zones by country. No name for this one yet. Superheroes capture Silverstone Circuit and then use it as an airbase for American, Australian, and Mexican forces. And then meanwhile, all these other countries decide to sit there and attack it. During the Canadian Civil War, Mexico bought a bunch of weapons from third world country, especially like the Soviet bloc nations, and dropped them weapons to the British nationalists to fight against the French. However, ironically, the British nationals turn and use the same weapons against the Allied forces, even though the Allied forces are fighting the same people who the British nationals should be fighting. Eventually, it all works itself out, and they convince them to have a huge, large mass scale attack on London. Superheroes storm London and capture Parliament Building. France surrenders before they have a chance to go in there, and that's the occupation zones that are set up by the Allies so that they can go after France, so they can help rebuild the destroyed country. Denmark allows the Allied troops into Europe, but Germany reacts, and the Allies continue on and forces Berlin to fall because they were in such a hurry to take Berlin. Germany really have time to react. France is too weak, and so the Allies siege Paris, forces Paris basically to fall, therefore ending the war.